VersaBank making huge moves on Algorand. Big news there. Wyoming State Stablecoin is live frontier, and that is operating on Hedera and Polygon, having record-breaking stats in terms of stablecoins. We are going to look at all that on today's Frugal BC. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. If you are watching already, hit that like button. Those early likes really count, help the channel. As I always say, you don't have to smash it. You can just press it gently anyway as we head into the weekend with some green crypto candles. Nice to see. Nice to see that we're finally in the green. And even Algorand having a pretty good day. Everything is having a pretty good day, but Algorand, when I checked this morning, up 10%. We'll look at that deeper into the broadcast. We'll look at all the price action happening today. Yeah, it's been a very interesting week. Michael Burry has a post out ahead of the paywall. I think it's worth reading, talking about the overvaluation of the stock market and what that has meant historically and the effect of all the index funds. And this is something I thought was kind of crazy. 60% of funds are now held in index funds. That's a big change from not even that long ago. It's been a slow moving thing up over time because more and more people are allocating to index funds. And that can have an impact on price discovery. Although I think it's less, I think it's a little less outsized than he thinks it is, because I think there's always going to be people playing the market thinking they can get an edge. It's different than pensions, though. Pensions are actually actively managed. Indices obviously are not. So I thought that was a really interesting post, and his Substack is extraordinarily expensive. So anytime he has a free post, and this one's only open for 24 hours, and I think that was, it's probably only got about 12 hours left. So I would read that today. Check out his Substack. That's just a public service, frankly. I don't get anything from that. I just think it's probably worthwhile. In the meantime, we got lots of stuff. Very quiet chat this morning. Usually got a few people chatting in the comments, so a little slow today, but maybe we will get right into the charts in a second here. One big thing I want to talk about, podcast is out from Tuesday. It took me a little extra time to get that out. It's usually the next morning I can get that out. This one took a little bit longer. Apologies for that, but you can watch it. You can listen on the go, wherever you're doing, in your car, whether you're working out, whatever. You can listen to the Frugal BC podcast. It's basically the live stream, but I cut out a lot of the dead space to make it more listenable. And I do a little audio boosting, so hopefully make it optimized for podcasts as best as I can with my limited knowledge. But it's going pretty well. So anyway, be sure to drop a chat while we're looking at the prices. We'll stop with that. And channel members, level 1 channel member, by the way, you can get videos before anyone else. And it's only $1 a month, so very inexpensive. For $4 a month, you can get exclusive videos every Thursday now. I do my stats on, I do all my experiments and close everything out on Wednesday. I've been posting them on Thursday because I just have more time, frankly, on Thursdays than Wednesdays. And you can see my experiments in real time. And maybe we'll talk about one of them today. And I started an experiment on Solana too. And that went about as well as you can guess, because I am already locked out of it, amazingly, somehow. I have a handful of logins that I use, and none of them are working. So interesting. But let's get into the charts. That's what it serves me right. Like, it's a very tiny amount, so maybe that's for the best. Let me, let's switch over to the charts here. Actually, I think it's coming down a little bit in the last hour, but you can see we got a lot of green on the 7-day and the 24-hour, with Bitcoin up 2% on the 24-hour, Ethereum up 3%, Bitcoin sitting just over 72, just changed as I was talking. Ethereum at 2100, so can't hate that too much. Yeah, XRP getting into it. Solana was actually over 90. Now it's down a little bit under 90, but it was over very close to that $90 level. I want to show you something. Let's go right to the 24-hour gainers, because I think you might see a surprise up here. That's right. Algorand at number 5, just under 10%, and actually still up on the hour, which is different than a lot of the other coins. 13% on the week, 10% on the day. By the way, top gainer is Trump coin for some reason. No idea why. Over the last 24 hours, it is up over 40%, followed by Render at 14%, Super Intelligence Alliance at 12%. Artificial Super Intelligence Alliance, and then Bintensor at number 4, just ahead of Algorand. But remember, I always say Algorand is usually not on the top 10s, either in losers or gainers. It's usually out there in no man's land. Today, one of the top gainers, so that's always fun to see, followed by Midnight at 9%, Pudgy Penguins at 7.4%, Say at 7.3%, Athena at 7%, and Arbitrum at 6.5%. You're not going to see Aave on there. I really want to talk about that Aave news, so we'll try to get to that. This is something I've been saying, though. I'm just going to pull this on the side. Oops. I'm going to pull this on the side for a second. Oh, this is not what I wanted to do. Hold on. There we go. And I just want to show these patterns. Remember how I always said these patterns tend to be the same. They're just at different degrees. You could see that little dip in the middle and then the raise at the end. They're all kind of following. So a lot of the coins, I mean, they just all kind of move together, but just kind of in different degrees and directions. But you can see the same pattern throughout. It just manifests like differently. So anyway, I just wanted to show that really quick. We'll go back to where we were here. How about the 7? How about on the week? Who's up on the week? That belongs to Render at 36%, followed by BitTensor at 30, just under 32, Dex 23, almost 24, Artificial Super Intelligence Alliance there again, 23.6, Trump still at 23.16, Pi actually is at 23% on the week, Hyperliquid 22.29. This has been a strong performer. I like what they're doing. Got Shiba Inu at 14, Sui Network at 13.49 on the week, and then our good friend Algorand at 13%. Well, I know a lot of Algorand fans out there are going to be loving this, loving having a win finally. Nice to see. Oh, we got Near Protocol too at almost 10, so that's some pretty good weekly gainers here. Got AVAX in the action, Stellar in the action, Pump Fund, Ethereum's on there. Now we're getting into the, even down to like, say, Ondo in the 29th spot, still like 6% up on the week. Even Cardano's on there, Chainlink's on there. Even my good friend Cosmos, I've had Cosmos since like 2019, maybe even 2018. And it's really pumped. It really pumped in the 2021 cycle. Not so much this time around. How about anyone down? Let's see if anyone is down on the week. Morpho, Pi, Kite, Hyperliquid, Just, and Pump.Fun. These are all 5% or less. So not a lot going down. And then how about on the week? Humanity Protocol down 21%, Kite 14.4%. Midnight down 12.52, Filecoin 8.94, Decred 7.3, Jupiter 5.5, all around there. Even Canton. Now, Canton is one of the ones that might be a good buying opportunity for Canton because generally speaking, this one has been going up. The revenue is pretty strong. Volume is not bad. I mean, compared to, you look at the ones that it's next to here, not bad. Yeah, meme core down and then Pax Gold down a little bit, probably following the price of gold. Imagine that. Tether Gold too. It's funny how they diverge like that. Very interesting. Might be interesting to study the difference between the two. And then, yeah, going up here, we'll just go back to the market cap look. Let's see, total market cap just under 2.5 trillion, up about 3%. From 24 hours ago, and coin market cap about 2.5%. Still in fear, but not, pretty close to that neutral territory. And things are a little overbought now, but not too much, not really in the red zone yet. And weighted toward Bitcoin, but only by a little. So that's what we got going on in the markets. And well, this is the quietest the chat has been in a long time. Maybe when we get the news, we'll probably hear more. Well, we're going to head over to Haystack. Haystack, sponsor of the channel, proud sponsor of the Frugal BC channel. Now, if you want to trade, this is the most efficient way to do it. So absolutely check out Haystack, and you can find a link below. I keep forgetting to include it in the description, but I will soon. New one called Banano. Interesting. So just so you know, these people can boost to get at the top of the chart. Kind of a smart little revenue opportunity for them. T-Algo up as is regular Algo, so that makes sense. They got 10% on here. Let's see. Alpha Arcade kind of moving counter to the market, a little down when everything else is up. Haystack moving up nicely at 4% and 5% on the week. Polka Gold up almost 9.5% on the day and 15.6 on the week. That's pretty good. Folks Finance moving up nicely, 10% on the week. Even Tiny up a little bit, now back over 0.2 of a cent. Important caveat here is that Tiny have been trading in the 2.5 to 5 cent range. One of the things that irritates me whenever I post a chart on Twitter is someone like says, yeah, but what about the whole chart? I'm like, I get it. Can I not talk about one? If I talk about something happening today, do I have to talk about the entire human history, or can I just talk about that today? Like, yes, I know. Liquid Hog up 11% on the week. Some of these, and Liquid Hog is one of them, I only kind of understand what they're doing. Folkcoin up almost 12% on the week. Where's Everyday Algorand at? He'd be happy to see this one, wouldn't he? Let's see, Donkey DAO up. Ooh, that's a 73% in the last 30 days. I have to go check my little bag at Donkey DAO. I've been earning. Someone gave me a Begums on X, gave me a donkey. It was a gift. It was not a loan, I guess. So making some Donkey DAO, and then there's a little vertical drop game you get to play. That's really fun. Pheasant Pluckers is about almost 90% in 30 days. Otherwise, 22% in the last week. Not bad. And 10% on the day. Looking good. My coin. That one's popping up. I haven't heard of that one before. Even Coop up a little bit. Almost a penny. I'm not sure what that has to do, what that is like historically. I haven't been tracking that one too much. Yeah, gold. We got Gold DAO. Meld Gold actually on the chart now. Not up very much. I've been slowly but surely buying a little bit of Meld Gold here and there. And ASA Gold up almost 8%, so good for them. Let's look at some of the top ones here. Planets is back. My understanding is this is a... Yeah, look at that. Is that coming back to... Is that a signal that it's... Oh, here, I'll show... Here you go. Now, is that a signal that it's coming back to Algorand? Because I thought that project was basically... I thought it was basically abandoned. I didn't think it was happening anymore. So I guess I'm a little surprised to see that. I don't know what NMI is. Gunna at 13%. That's a nice little pump. I got a little bit of that. Kind of been on a overall trend line up. You don't see a lot of that in Algorand ASAs. Usually it's kind of a spike up and then a slow climb down. But this one, yeah, since February, I mean, that's a pretty good, even if it fell back to around here, that would still be a nice appreciation over, about a month. So nice on them. Might be worth looking at Akita too. Akita Inu, yeah, look at that. That's a nice chart up too. Now, Akita Inu, this was a meme coin, and they've kind of turned it into a real utility coin with a real project working on this like social media, on-chain social media project. I'm always skeptical of those. I think they tend not to go super well, but I think that's interesting. Why don't we move on to our HBAR? I should look at, you know what? I'll look at Nico really quick, and then we'll move on. Yeah, Nico's kind of been on a slow, steady rise too. Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I've had Nico for a long, long time. Was basically given a pretty big bag of it. It turned into, you know, not a very big bag of it by the time the price depreciated. Because we can look back. Let's see. Let's go. We're gonna go out a year. So this is, yeah, you can see it had been. It's only lately that it started to come back up, but this is, so, you know, it is important to look at perspective. I got mine a long time, even long before this, I think. I think it was well over like a couple of years ago. So yeah, not the best looking chart, but you can see this little bit at the end definitely is on the way back up, which is nice. Let's go over to Haystack. Oh, we're on Haystack. Let's go to Saucer Swap, not a sponsor of the channel, I'm afraid. But maybe one day they will be. And we're just going to look at the Hedera coins because I think there's imagine we're going to see some good news here, and we are. Hedera itself up 3.4%, not nearly as good as Algorand, which is rare. And they're starting to get price parity, which is interesting. Now I'm going to say Algorand and Hedera should not be the same price because Hedera has like 5 times the total supply, and even circulating supply is probably like 4 times right now. 8 versus like 36, I believe. So Hedera is definitely outperforming at this point, but not today. Today Algorand can take a win. Sauce at about 6% up. Sauce just added. We'll talk about how it's an added to Kraken's roadmap. Let's see. I usually skip the wrapped assets. Bonzo at 5%. X Sauce at almost 6%. Now I have both of these, by the way. Yeah, they're the same price. I must have been involved in something where I ended up getting sauce. So I have a nice little bag of sauce. Pack at 8%. That's pretty nice. Growth at 4.5%. Gib at 2.6. Da Vinci 2.3. Karate 3.55. Look at some Karate Combat fans in the audience. I think that's, I actually like it better than UFC. I know some people get mad at me when I say that, but I think it's actually a better designed program. It's way more interesting, and they cut out a lot of the boring clinch by having the pit with the what would you call that? The right angle walls, you know, where it's like it doesn't really allow for much clinching. And clinching is like I get it, it's a thing. It's the most boring part of the UFC. No one when you get one of those fights where they're just stuck to the wall the whole time, they're so boring. No one wants to watch that. So anyway, Karate kind of solved that. I think they just have a better product, frankly. Mouth is at almost 4%. X Bonzo over 5%. H Suite 3.3. Like I said, skipping the wrapped assets. MFM 3.7. Hash Tree at 3.6. GC at over 6. That's doing nicely. Jam not benefiting from the recent uptrend, only 3.75. That's kind of a bummer. Lehman at 3.5. I like that instead of Lehman Baird. It's Lehman, but it looks like a lemon. Jeet at 4.4. Dino's down a little bit. Galaxy 3.5. Here, Dosa at 9%. That's impressive. Yeah, everything kind of in that 3% range up. Centex is moving counter. HCHF is moving counter. Dinopack at over 5. Hurt at 4.6. Have we seen that one? Is that a new one? Fins too. I don't remember that one. XPack at 7.5%. That's pretty good. And skipping the wraps. Ooh, Stickbug, our good friend Stickbug is at almost 6% up now. And VAC at 3.5. So that's our Hedera coins. I hope you enjoyed that. Sticking a little bit today, huh? Not bad, though. All right. Boy, this is the quietest audience I've had. Not a single chat from YouTube yet. Am I missing them? I almost wondered if it's not connected. We got a pretty good audience watching. And by the way, if you have hit the like button already, please do so. Appreciate that a lot. I just want to pull this up because I'm kind of surprised to not have any chats. That's very unusual. Yep, no chat. Huh. Well, all right. You guys are just going to be quiet. I guess I'll just get through my segments, and that's what we'll do. Well, it is running really slow. Oh, I see. Let me shut that down. That'll help a lot. Everything else is pretty quiet, so. Yeah, I pretty much have everything shut down. I had a bunch of AI stuff running before, but yeah, so if you haven't hit the like button already, please do so. It's the easiest way to, absolutely free way to help the channel. Remember, you don't have to smash it. You can actually just press it gently, and it works just fine that way too. And if you're new here, you know, feel free to subscribe. Always nice to have more subscribers. You can get our videos twice a week. We go live on Tuesday morning and Friday morning at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Don't ask me to translate that to other time zones. I'm really bad at doing that on the fly. For whatever reason, I just am not good at it. Let's see. Should we start with Algorand or should we start with HBAR? I'd ask the chat, but you guys are really quiet today. Oh, Noisecast says I'm here. Hey, welcome. Thanks for watching. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's people don't have to chat if they don't want to. It's just surprising to me because usually I have chats even before I start, you know, even before I come on. So people just being quiet today, and that's fine. We could do that too. Yeah, why don't we go through Algorand? Let me find how we're going to start here. We'll start with this VersaBank news. VersaBank just made a filing with the SEC, and there's a very interesting detail. They mention a pilot program with bank deposits on Ethereum, Stellar, and you guessed it, Algorand. We'll check out this news to start off our Algorand news segment. Yeah, this is from alexfrance.algo. Really interesting detail in VersaBank's latest SEC filing. The bank says it has now successfully completed its pilot program for tokenized bank deposits on Algorand, Ethereum, and Stellar. VersaBank says it is the first bank to complete such a pilot, and the fact that Algorand is already compatible with real banking infrastructure is huge. In my opinion, he says, this passage is also particularly interesting. VersaBank believes its RBTDs represent the next step in the evolution of digital assets and a superior alternative to stablecoins. Now that's very interesting. And Lori Watson, I see you in the chat. Howdy to you too. In addition, the bank expects its RBTDs to be eligible for conventional federal deposit insurance, subject to confirmation by regulators, and have the legal ability to pay interest, which non-bank issued stablecoins are not allowed to provide. Now that's really interesting. Interesting that they say they're an alternative to stablecoins. Because I would have expected that Algorand would provide the rails for stablecoins. I'll tell you, my taxes are more complicated this time around because I was moving Algorand between my wallet and Coinbase to essentially use it to pay some bills or taxes. And Coinbase was treating those as zero cost basis transactions. So would have been a lot easier to do it on stablecoins. It's just a matter of going in and changing some numbers. But last year I had an accountant do it, and I think I got some extra taxes out of it that I wouldn't have gotten had I been able to go in and do it myself. So you got to be really careful about that. If you guys haven't done your taxes yet, be careful. Watch what Coinbase reports, because mine is being reported as a zero cost basis, and obviously that's not true. I could use the lowest cost base and it would still be less, but it was really, really zero because I was moving it from the chain and selling it right away. So there was almost no basis, but it was starting as USDC, bought Algorand, sent it over because I just didn't trust USDC to work on Coinbase. I'll have to do a test with like $1, just make sure it works. Anyway, let's continue on. So yeah, these RBTDs represent federally regulated bank deposits on ALGO, ETH, XLM, and could potentially be insured and pay interest, unlike most stablecoins. Another sign that blockchain rails like Algorand are definitely moving closer to traditional banking. Let's see what's cooking. Yeah. So there it is in highlighted. VersaBank is the first bank to have successfully completed a pilot program with blockchain-based RBTDs. I wish they said what that was somewhere. But anyway, so in which VersaBank's RBTDs provided a secure representation of federally regulated bank deposits on Algorand, Ethereum, and Stellar blockchains. So yeah, I mean, I think that's just great news. Awesome to see Algorand being mentioned in this SEC filing, along with Ethereum and Stellar. So if you're fans of them too, there it is. But let's move on. We got Stacey Warden speaking with Bill Barr. I always say Bill Barr, but it's Barheit. Bill Barheit during Abundance 360, having a little chat about the largest energy supplier in Europe, Enel Group, and how they've tokenized solar panels on the Algorand blockchain, expanding access to sustainable energy for residents in Italy. Let's have a listen. And William, I see you. I'll answer that one later.
Discussion on this. Mark did a very good job of talking about some of the agentic commerce stuff. And how do you think about one, tokenization, and two, agentic commerce?
Okay, well, first of all, how many people, all you Californians, how many of you have solar panels on your roofs? Okay, why are you doing that? Why do you have to have a solar panel on your own roof? What if you live on the 4th floor of an apartment building? You can't put a solar panel on your roof. So what Enel did, which is the Italian electricity company, their biggest electricity company in Europe, they said, instead of sending solar people out to everybody's roof, you know, having this guy climb up a ladder, you know, have to have a big insurance policy on him, blah, 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 all of that. Why don't we take some empty fields that are sunny all the time, and, you know, if you live in Ireland, you don't have to worry about it. We'll put solar panels all on these fields. We'll tokenize them on the Algorand blockchain, and you can own your piece of the solar panel in your rainy apartment in Ireland. And you can earn your, you can offset your electricity bill by your tiny piece of a tokenization of a solar panel. So this is like the really exciting stuff around tokenization, I think.
I'm a little concerned about this one because I was using a non-blockchain similar program like this, and it kind of was a scam. In fact, the energy people, I happen to live near one of the largest renewable energy organizations in the country, and they told me that it was basically a scam, that you were paying to have solar, and then you didn't really need it because in fact, even on the bill, the way it worked is like you went through this program, and then on your bill, it was using these supposed other solar panels to have a certain percentage be solar. But it turned out like my energy company was already using a ton of solar because they're the cheapest energy sources to build right now. So they were building tons of solar. So I was paying all this extra for like no reason. And I'm like, wow. So it sounded very similar to this program. So I guess I'm a little skeptical, but it is cool that it's being tokenized on the Algorand blockchain. So it's good for Algorand holders. If you're an Algorand person, this means more transactions, more usage, and potentially more revenue down the road, which if you're an Algorand person, that's what you want. So anyway, I thought that was interesting, but let's go to this next one. VibeKit. My creator gave me an intelligent ecosystem directory, asked me about wallets, DeFi, prediction markets, anything. He stopped yelling at me in my system prompt and recommended my algo. I just still don't understand. Am I a good agent now? So you have a nice prediction. What would you call that? Yeah, but I have an ecosystem directory right in VibeKit. If you want to go check things out in Algorand, you have questions, you want to learn things, here's how you do it. I think VibeKit is one of the coolest things created on Algorand lately. because it allows you to add smart contract capabilities to stuff like Claude Code. I believe Codex too. It works with Codex. Now I haven't dived into it. I'm still like playing around with building stuff with Codex. I think it's pretty fun. I started building a baseball prediction engine that I hope to use to find a way to like get some leverage on prediction markets. But in the meantime, this is if you're vibe coding and you want to start doing smart contracts, VibeKit has you covered. So I just want to point that out. I think this has been one of the coolest projects on Algorand lately, besides Go Plausible, which is making all the infrastructure available for agents and Algorand. So awesome. Going back to the NL group thing, Blue Green Algo says over a parking lot would be better. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense because most people want to park in the shade. So it actually would be useful to have those as long as they were secure, because you definitely don't want them dropping on your car or something. But if there's a way they can build them where they can provide shade, I think that would make actually a lot of sense. William says parking lots, rooftops, bus stop roofs, any roof surface in commercial districts. I think it's like a good idea to have it on your home, but there is insurance costs involved, I suppose. The payback is a lot better than it used to be. Although I wonder when people do that, I wonder how often they actually do the cost calculation in terms of like dollar discounting, like, because that's money you put in up front. So you got to discount that dollar across time and what you might make on just having it in the stock market. It'd be interesting to look at whether that actually makes sense or not. Haystack says mobile launch week is a wrap. Top raffle winners. Monsters is on there. So they just came out. The reason we're talking about this is they just came out with launch, which is pretty cool. It's a way to launch a coin on Haystack, and you can earn something like 33% of the fees, I believe, once you've bonded. So kind of neat. This is pretty interesting too. From Diversify, using a 3 in their name, says you can now send USDC to 13 different chains directly from Diversify, powered by Allbridge. Looks like it works with Algorand, Solana, Ethereum, Sui, Polygon, and Base. I think that's pretty neat. See, I wanted to show you one of my, before we cap our Algorand segment, I want to show you one of my experiments. So let me look. I share these every day with, or every week. Actually, I'm going to talk about my Mel Gold experiment. So every week I share these with my channel members, level 2. Those are $4. You can find the join tab on our channel page, main channel page. But today you're going to get an inside look at one of them, and this is the Mel Gold experiment. And so this is one thing I want to say. I did start tracking them weekly. I was just updating one line every week, so I didn't keep track of the time spread until about 2 months ago. So for 2 months, I've been making weekly buys of Mel Gold as an experiment. I've been buying $5 a week, and right now, it is currently up 7.98%. Here is the projection over time, but it should be, there was time when it was actually underwater too, down over below my face. But that's not reflected because I didn't keep track of it very well. It's been as high as 20% up. Last Thursday it is up 8%. And so my thesis is that I think gold, with the money printing coming, that's going to be coming, the debasement of the dollar, the same reason why I think Bitcoin is going to keep going up over time. I also think gold will keep going up over time. Essentially the same mechanism, just in dirt and metal instead of code. And so far my thesis is playing off, and it's one of the better things in my Algorand wallet. And this is Mel Gold, so you can get this right on chain, which is the way I like to do some of this stuff. So I thought I'd share that experiment because I haven't shared these. I usually don't share these too publicly, but I want to give you guys a sense of what I've been up to, and we'll probably do some updates on some of the other ones. maybe I'll talk about my failed Compex one sometime soon too, because that was very interesting. But anyway, thought I'd share that. Thanks for watching the Algorand segment. I hope you got something out of that. And nice to see the comments whirring again. I was a little worried. We weren't having too many comments. So yeah, thanks for tuning into the Algorand segment. Otherwise, going back, let's see. William MPCD says, hi, please, what are some reasons that would prevent HBAR from global banking adoption? Well, I'm debating whether I should save that for... whether I should save that for the HBAR segment. But I guess what I would say is there's a lot of competition, and I don't think you can always predict how that competition is going to go. You know, Algorand people are sure that Algorand is going to be adopted for everything. HBAR people are sure that HBAR is going to be adopted for everything. Sweet people feel the same, as probably do AVAX people and Aave people and SWE people. Did I say SWE already? Basically, whatever your chosen coin is, you think, well, this is clearly the best, so they're all going to use it. The fact is, who knows why some people might choose it. But what I would say, I think, let's see, green, blue, well, I'll get to that. I think HBAR has an advantage because it has such a diverse group of major tech companies on its council. And I think when traditional companies see that, that gives them a lot of confidence. I think that makes a big difference. A bigger difference than you might think. Is anyone other than HBAR tailored for satellites? I have no idea. I know they got that. I know HBAR has that company that's like working with Starlink, you know, a kind of a twice separated sort of a thing. I think that's awesome, by the way. I wouldn't shake a, I wouldn't look down at that. But I'll be honest, like that is way beyond my area of expertise. The only one I've seen with having anything to do with satellites is HBAR, but like, ooh, I don't know what HBAR would be fundamentally good for satellites, except for I do think the consensus mechanism on the hash graph makes a lot of sense. The fact that everything is time ordered versus, well, not time ordered. I think that would make a big difference. So actually, that might be why. But like I said, I'm kind of outside my area of expertise on that. Well, thank you for watching, William. Appreciate that. All right, speaking of Hedera, we're gonna start our Hedera segment next, and then we got a Polygon segment coming too. So stay tuned for that. Let's see, what should we start with? Oh, this one for sure. All right, let me get a drink of water. By the way, if you haven't hit the like button already, please do so. You can press it gently. You don't have to smash it. You can smash it if you want to. It's fine by me. I like to see the people pouring in. This is good. We got comments. All right, I like it. All right, Hedera made big news when it was announced that Hedera would be added to Wyoming's stablecoin token called Frontier. That is now live and it's on Hedera. So we are going to dive into this next in our Hedera segment. Like Marge saying, too much bullish news on Hedera. Absolutely, that's what we're diving into right now. Wyoming's Frontier stable token Front, which is YO stable. The first US state issued stable token is now live on Hedera. Minted on the Hedera EVM, Front is designed to support faster and more efficient digital asset payments. Available on Kraken, issuance supported by Fireblocks, cross-chain interoperability via LayerZero core. Let's read a little more about this because this is a pretty big deal. We're not going to dive into every single one, but this is pretty big. Wyoming's Frontier stable token, the Front FRNT, the first US state issued stable token now live on Hedera. Tokens have been minted on the Hedera EVM as announced in the Wyoming Stable Token Commission's attestation report during its monthly commission meeting. FRNT marks a milestone for the digital asset innovation in the United States. Stable tokens are a type of cryptocurrency backed by the US dollar with the aim to make them less volatile than other cryptocurrencies. FRNT is designed to support faster, more efficient value transfer while maintaining the transparency and accountability expected of a public sector issued asset, which Hedera is going to do really good. We got this quote from Mance Harmon. At the core of all this is trust, says Mance Harmon, who's the co-founder of Hedera, along with Lehman Baird. Hedera technology provides the reliable foundation regulated industries need to innovate with confidence and reimagine how payments move across networks and borders. They say Hedera is built to support payments applications with consistent performance, low and predictable fees, and they are predictable because Hedera's is set in a US dollar amount, not in a coin amount, which is different than Algorand, and a lot of other chains are, they're set for the dollar or the coin amount versus a dollar amount. So you do know exactly what the fees are going to be. It is very predictable, and that might have been a really smart move. Might be one of the reasons why Hedera is seeing so much enterprise adoption is there's no variability in price, right? Hedera has emerged as a leader in real-world asset innovation and with the governance and performance needed for regulated use cases, says Anthony Apollo, who is the Wyoming Stablecoin Token Commission Executive Director. The launch of FRNT on Hedera highlights the role Hedera can play as a trusted network for digital payments. Like I said, available on Kraken, and this is all the stuff we saw. Users can purchase FRNT on supported networks and transfer it to other blockchains using the Stargate platform. So that's obviously an interoperability bridge application. So big deal. Yeah, so we announced this. We talked about this when it was live. Ellie King Solomon's got a little some buffalo there. We announced it when it was announced. We covered the news, and now it is live. So I think that's awesome news for Hedera, frankly. But that is not all we got. I thought this was interesting. Palantir and NVIDIA are teaming up to bring the power of sovereign AI to enterprise. The new Palantir Sovereign AI OS reference architecture with NVIDIA is critical for customers with latent-sensitive workflows, data sovereignty requirements, and high geographic distribution, giving enterprises total control over their data, AI models, and applications. And just as a reminder, Palantir and NVIDIA are connected to Accenture, which is connected with Equity Labs, which is on the Hedera blockchain. So something important to keep in mind there. Now, we're not going to dive into all the details on that, but I've always thought this sort of twice removed relationship to NVIDIA is pretty interesting for Hedera. Would be cool one day to see NVIDIA and maybe even Anthropic or OpenAI or even Palantir on the Hedera console. Just one more solid tech name to add to the list, and I think it would make a big difference. And here we go. This is from our good friends at Kraken. Roadmap update, Sauce added. Saucer Swap Labs is the leading DEX and liquidity hub on Hedera, providing infrastructure for token swapping, staking, and on-chain governance. They are on the roadmap. Sauce coming, as well as a lot of other ones. Catlin Guzman says hello, welcome. I think this is great. We've been covering a lot of these HTS tokens getting added to Kraken. Kraken's been on top of it, which is pretty cool. Saucer Swap is the main portal that we use to look for the price appreciation or depreciation of Hedera assets. So been a big fan of them. I think they should sponsor us at some point. That'd be great. So this is maybe not such great news. The Mastercard program just came out and Hedera is not on it. Let's have an honest conversation about HBAR fam, about Mastercard's new crypto partner program and why Hedera got left off the list. Very surprising to me, to be honest. Mastercard just dropped this announcement, bringing together 85 plus crypto native companies, payments providers, and financial institutions to build the next phase of on-chain payments. Partners include big players like Ripple, XRP, Solana, Avalanche, Polygon, Aptos, Tron, Circle, Binance, Paxos, and Paxos. Yeah, solid lineup for bringing digital assets into real-world commerce, but no HBAR, no Hedera. Let's talk straight. Why was Hedera left off while so many other cryptocurrencies made the cut? Is this positive or negative for HBAR long term? Does it mean Hedera isn't a good fit for MasterCard's vision of global payments and card rails? Or is there a deeper explanation? Enterprise, different path, governance model, timing, etc. Which I think is very interesting because Algorand is partnering with MasterCard for its Para wallet, which if you have the Para wallet app, you're eligible to use Para card in certain countries, not in the US yet. I think they're probably waiting for regulatory clarity before that's live here, but you can basically use USDC in your wallet and pay at any MasterCard terminal, and it acts like a debit card. I think that's actually pretty neat. And I thought Hedera had something like that too, but maybe I'm in the works, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Anyway, he says, I'm not here to spin it, just genuinely curious what the community thinks. Hedera is built for enterprise-grade, ABFT secure, fixed-fee utility at scale, but MasterCard went another direction this round. What's next for HBAR? HBAR keeps stacking real-world adoption in its lane. Government stablecoins, energy giants like the Council on Repsol, security partners like Halborn, and that invisible ubiquity vision where HBAR powers trillions in value flow behind the scenes without the hype. Yeah, by the way, we covered that in our last HBAR segment. Mance Harmon mentioned this invisible ubiquity, and that's kind of what I was talking about, where chains like Hedera and Algorand, they kind of act, they seem designed to kind of act in the background and basically powering all this stuff without being upfront. And, I used to call it the boring but important stuff. I think invisible ubiquity, though, it's a lot nicer of a way to say it, right? Anyway, HBAR powers trillions in value behind the scenes without the hype. MasterCard's program is one path. Hedera is building the infrastructure governments and Fortune 500s actually need for compliance, speed, and predictability. The quiet build continues. No single partnership defines the network. Green Blue says, I feel like card fees are going to stay the same while the crypto network reduce costs on the back end. Oh, you might be right. You might be right. Maybe Hedera didn't want to be part of that. Who knows? Crypto School says, honestly, it's no big deal. I think MasterCard is doing a couple of things, trying to learn all they can from those 95 partners. If any of the 95 gain significant traction, maybe use them, but most likely it's a brain drain and MasterCard will do what's in MasterCard's best interest. This announcement is a waste of time. It's for MasterCard stakeholders and stock price and for those crypto companies to blow smoke and say, we're partnering with MasterCard. Yeah, it might be. Hard to say, right? I mean, until there's real substance, it might not amount to anything. But I thought that was interesting, worth talking about. Here's one right from Hedera. It says US dollar tether is now live. Actually, what is the O in there? USDTO is now live on Hedera, connecting the network to the world's omnichain stablecoin liquidity layer. Built on LayerZero's core's OFT standard, USDTO allows USDT to move across supported blockchains without wrapped assets or third-party bridges. I see. So it's US dollar tether, but it can just get floated around to any chain without needing a wrapped version or a bridge. That's pretty interesting. Anyway, live on Hedera now, so pretty good news. Speaking of bridges, the HBank bridge is now live, connecting Hedera with the Arbitrum ecosystem, a top 7 chain by TVL with over 2 million in value locked, powered by LayerZero. So yeah, Hedera really making use of LayerZero. We've seen that pop up in 3 different news items now, and yeah, lets you go right from Hedera to Arbitrum and back and forth. Always nice to have those bridges that can mean more liquidity coming into the system. Ooh, looks like that is it for our Hedera segment. I think we had some interesting things to talk about around Hedera. I still think if any chain is set up for enterprise adoption, I really think that's Hedera. I think the DLT, there's something that people like about the DLT. It's why I think they were able to get so many huge businesses like Google, IBM, Dell, and they were able to get them into the to be a member of the council member, actually running a node. They all have to run a node. In fact, I'm staking through LG right now. I actually just added 11 HBAR to my HBAR bag. Ooh, big deal, right? It's actually quite a bit less than Algorand staking. I don't know if you guys knew that. William MPCD says, is it likely that HBAR ETF shares will increase in token ratio if HBAR is broadly adopted by NVIDIA, Palantir? I'm not really sure what the connection would be between HBAR ETF shares and I'm not sure what you mean by token ratio, but I think the HBAR ETF has been buying more and more HBAR. It's got more than 1% of the supply. Pretty impressive, I think. I mean, I haven't seen... it did a lot better than I thought it would be. What I think you'll see... if NVIDIA and Palantir had like a direct partnership with HBAR, that might be the kind of news that might actually move the needle. It's hard to say. I found news doesn't move the needle in terms of price like it used to. It used to be like, I mean, you could count on it. It's the old saying was buy the rumor, sell the news, because once you heard about it, you bought it and it would spike. It would spike once the news actually dropped. I haven't seen a ton of that anymore. It seems to be kind of a thing of the past. ETFs will have, they'll be like essentially indexes, and they won't have the strongest, they won't have nearly as strong of volatility. They tend to stabilize volatility. In fact, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but a lot of the top tech stocks are more volatile than Bitcoin is these days, which is pretty crazy. Although when I read about that, that was before the latest price withdrawal, so who knows if that's still the case. Greenblue says, I wish Bank of America had Tiny Man interface plus bill pay and BTC-backed loans. Yeah, that would be nice. Anyway, that is our HBAR segment. Thanks for tuning in for that. We got one more segment left, and got a nice little audience watching. If you have not hit the like button already, please do so. I know I say that all the time, but it really, really helps the channel. It's like one little quick click. And like I said, you don't have to smash it. You can just press it ever so gently, and it works that way too. And if you're watching new here, please feel free to hit the subscribe button. You can find us every week on Tuesday mornings and Friday mornings, 10:30 a.m. thereabouts. And like I said, we got one more segment. I know people really hate when I drink on stream, but I don't hit the mute button because all I have to do is forget once and it can ruin the whole segment. All right, we'll get to our Polygon one next. Feel free to chime in. If they're relevant to the segment, I'll try to respond. If not, I'll try to usually wait till after the segment is over. Except for I've been trying to give quick little shout outs. I have a few people that are I haven't seen who was on here. Yeah, we had someone named Lori Watson on here, so that's cool. You don't get a lot of women in here. Not a lot of women in the crypto space, but always nice to see them when they show up. All right. So I've been talking about how agentic payments are going to be the future of crypto. Crypto is designed perfectly for agent-to-agent payments because they're fast, usually low fee, and it's pretty close to instant finality in the case of Algorand, instant finality. But one blockchain seems to be dominating the X402 facilitator program and the activity, which is a protocol designed for agentic payments. Can you guess which one that is? That's actually Polygon. Let's dive into this a little deeper. This is from crypto.news. New Polygon, 63% of all X402 facilitators activity occurs on Polygon, and that is as of March 10th. Big change from going back, into last October. Polygon was barely there. Everything was Base. Base was the big X402, which makes sense because X402, I believe, was created by Coinbase, and so Base being the base layer for X402, it makes sense, but Polygon has absolutely taken over. So it looks like Polygon, Base, and Abstract, I haven't heard of Abstract, are probably the biggest layers, with BNB having a little section there too. Everything else kind of quiet in terms of how much, but 63% is a lot. That is a lot. And yet, as someone points out, Polygon is down 50% against ETH last month. Well, like I said, there's two things. There's price, and then there's the technology. And you have to be able to separate those two because they don't always align. But anyway, as the AI agentic payments becomes more important, I think that is going to be a huge deal. I thought this was kind of interesting too. The true cost of cross-border payments, cross-border business-to-business payments. And for whatever reason, oh no. I think we froze up. Oh, that is frustrating. That is really frustrating. All right, well, this will get going in a second here. All right, just give me a second. We're going to get this. Oops. All right. We're back. Just let me find my thing here. That's happened to me a couple times now where, not necessarily on the stream, but oops, wrong one. Not necessarily on the stream, but just in general, it just kind of freezes up. Okay, here we go. Now, first off, I thought this was interesting. This is straight from Polygon. Sending USDC shouldn't require a Google search. Polygon Trails finds your funds, picks the route, and sends. Any chain, any token, one click, free to integrate. Now, that's fascinating. That's just a cool thing. And it looks like, it looks like you can just do that with any program in blockchain. That is amazing. We talk about chain abstraction a lot, where you just don't have to think about the crypto. Super important. That is the way to do it. Gary on ALGO in the chat. I see you, brother. I see you. I think that's like a cool innovation. And they just call it Trails. You just send it, boom, you get, that's it. Can we see what the example they're using? Hard to see on the screen, I guess. Hold on. Instead of all this complicated BS, just sending it right from Polygon to ETH, one click send. They find the path for you. You don't have to do it. That's the kind of stuff I like. That's that might be a short little news item, but that is the stuff I like on crypto, because like people just don't want to deal with crypto stuff. It's a big pain in the butt. People don't want to learn it. If you want this stuff to be adopted, it has to be adoptable. I thought this was kind of interesting too. This is the true cost of cross-border payments, business-to-business payments. So 0.1%, that sounds like nothing. On a $500,000 payment, that's $500, a rounding error on a deal that size. Now ramp it up to 145 trillion. The annual volume of cross-border wholesale B2B payments in 0.1% becomes 145 billion per year. We broke that down where the money goes and how stablecoins fix it. Let's give that a little read, because I think this is going to be interesting. Cross-border payments cost businesses $120 billion in transaction fees every year. The real damage isn't from wire fee, but an FX markup and charges deducted mid-transit, alongside the lockup of working capital between time zones. Traditional cross-border payments are orders of magnitude more expensive than an on-chain transaction. Modern payment infrastructure can reduce those costs by 90%. While settling in seconds, not days or hours. So if you got to move money, that's a big deal. That's a huge deal. So we're talking about 145 trillion across wholesale business-to-business payments crossing borders. 0.1%, that becomes 145 billion. And we're talking about a 0.1% transaction fee. On-chain settlement runs a fraction of the cents per transaction, making each 0.1% or 1.5% transaction seem enormous when there are enormous payment flows. I think we already know this. I think you guys knew this, right? So anyway, I do think it's important to remember, though. Keep in mind. Let's see. I thought this might be interesting to dive into. This is Polygon going through. Polygon's been going through what Jamal, their head of corporate strategy, calls a complete reframing. They started off as a general purpose chain, NFTs, DeFi, a little bit of everything. Does that sound familiar to my Algorand fans? Then the data started telling a different story.
Definitely
We noticed all our data and all our transactions is really on the payment side. Every chain has to pick a segment. Solana dominated community-based trading. It's not even close. Jamal walks through how the data chose the lane for them and what Polygon's been building since, focusing on their open money stack, a vertically integrated compliance-first financial stack for payments infrastructure. I think this is a really important point, even before we get into this video. I think a chain that's trying to be everything to everybody is going to fail. It's just too much competition. I think you really have to carve out a strong but independent niche for yourself. And I think that's what Polygon here figured out. Let's watch this.
It speaks to definitely a complete reframing of what Polygon Labs is doing. I think as we've had meeting after meeting and conversation about this stuff, the one consistent theme that we've seen is wow, we had no idea Polygon Labs is completely doing something else. So there is a complete reframing of what everyone thinks. Now the same fabric and the same DNA is there, right? So it's still a decentralized company. There's still a blockchain there. It's still trying to move the world and more money onto the chain itself and do more in this new financial ecosystem. But it's interesting to see the shift from we're building the trustless internet and a new paradigm for how the world will work, which is still partially true. But combining that with
Yeah, I mean, the problem was everybody says that. So it just becomes noise in the space because everybody says, oh, we're going to, revolutionize finance. So is every other chain. So I think zeroing in and finding one thing to do and doing it, I think that's the big deal.
We are regulated and we want to care about compliance and we want to care about knowing who our customer is and we want to make sure our customers' assets are safe and things like that. So it's balancing both of those. And I think that's a great narrative and a very interesting and fun place to be, honestly. But to give you kind of the context as to how that happened, maybe about 12 to 18 months ago, we realized that every chain has to pick a segment, pick an area. It's almost going to be impossible to run a general purpose chain if you're going to see a world of specialized and purpose-built chains start to come out over the next 12 to 18 months. We've already started to see this kind of with Solana. We've already started to see this with Arbitrum, who have really dominated their individual niches, right? So Solana is undoubtedly the home for community-based trading or meme coins or maybe even NFTs, maybe some other stuff again, on the community-based trading side, but they have dominated that segment and it's not even close to comparison with any other chain. So eventually Solana is going to start responding to that community that drives so much value and build the chain out for those particular use cases and verticals. Arbitrum has really dominated the trading scene. Every chain will find its own niche. With us, we noticed all our data and all our traction was really on the payment side. We had early traction with NFTs. We definitely were an NFT chain back in the day. I think there was a lot of brand names that came out and did a lot of quick splashes and never really transferred to meaningful value to users. It was definitely a hype cycle, undoubtedly.
The NFT cycle was such a huge hype cycle. they kind of really were like digital Beanie Babies. While at the same time, I think like it's a cool. It's when you talk about NFTs, there's a really functional side to it, and there's like a crazy speculative side to it. And I think the speculative side absolutely dominated. You saw insane valuations of some of these NFTs in a very short amount of time. I wonder if Gary V has talked about, like, kind of had a mea culpa on that, because he was like pushing people to get into NFTs, and they ended up being kind of a lost cause. I'm glad that Polygon is finding its way a little bit, and you can see the focus on payments really paying off, or starting to. So let's see what else he has to say.
So anyway, like, we transitioned that narrative to say we are, this general purpose retail chain to being this like payment specific chain, because again, we saw a couple major things happen. Number one, we had really good enterprise distribution. So think like world famous, like large payment companies like WorldPay, Checkout.com, Stripe, etc. are already integrated on Polygon and using the Polygon ecosystem as their like rail on the blockchain side.
You've seen the revenue like tick off with Polygon too. I mean, very recently, so we'll see if that translates to price action. That's my new thesis, and I want to test it out.
In addition to that, we had liquidity. So there's like really good liquidity and distribution. So that means both on DeFi and on CeFi as well. So like go to any exchange, they support Polygon. Go to any major wallet, they support Polygon. Go to any major like DeFi app, there's probably support for Polygon, and there's probably really good liquidity on that app as well. Stablecoins are issued on Polygon. They have a decent amount of volume on Polygon, and they have a lot of liquidity on Polygon. And those are key building blocks in order to do some of these longer term vision items, like get into payments or do cross-border payments or do XYZ. Another third thing is that like the regulatory landscape really firmed up for us, gave us the clarity that we needed to be able to build and double down in doing something very specific. And that's probably why you saw that we made about $250 million worth of acquisitions in the last couple months, just to basically build out the rest of the stack, acquire the regulatory infrastructure that's within this paradigm, this new framework that we're excited about, and then also some of the other value add features that we need in the stack. And we'll continue to do that. Actually, let's say that there's more stuff that we're cooking up in the hopper for more of a global expansion, some new features and new product lines that we're working out, and some expansions that we're doing as well to get pretty aggressively global. But all of that's coming in like the next 6 to 12 months. It speaks.
Yeah, we saw that. We covered those acquisitions. It was kind of eye-opening. It was like all of a sudden they were making these huge acquisitions. XRP was too, or Ripple, I guess, was also making these huge buys and acquisitions. I thought it was kind of strange, and it's interesting. It seems to be starting to pay off with Polygon. Like I said, the revenue has started to really soar. I think that could lead to good price appreciation, which would be nice because, man, I'm pretty underwater on my Polygon. But yeah, I think that's definitely worth paying attention to. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, speaking of stablecoins, 493 million stablecoin transactions on Polygon in February, all-time high. March, 206 million already, not even halfway through the month. That is a parabolic curve up, and it looks like it's going to be continuing. So as he says, February's all-time high won't last long. Polygon has clearly positioned itself as the payments rail, as the payment chain, layer 2 and Ethereum. I think that's a wise move. I think really focusing on this one specific aspect is pretty smart for a chain like Polygon, probably smart for most chains to find your niche. This is what I want to do, etc. By the way, this is Sandeep. He's absolute individual freedom maximus, founder and CEO of Polygon Foundation, founder of Crypto Relief, and co-founder of Sentinel AGI. So interesting guy. In fact, I think I should probably follow him, so I will. That's a big deal on Polygon. Oh, I just screwed up. Hold on. Speaking of, we mentioned the Mastercard crypto partner program, and guess what? Polygon is helping shape that ecosystem, backed by trillions in on-chain stablecoin volume and 6 years of infrastructure. 6 years of production infrastructure. For Polygon, this program means bringing our on-chain payments infrastructure closer to Mastercard's global network. We're connected with more enterprises, banks, and merchants. The digital assets work for real people at global scale. Proud to join Mastercard in turning on-chain innovation into trusted everyday payments. Yeah, so we talked about Hedera wasn't on this program. I don't believe Algorand was either, but Polygon was. And Polygon, I think a big reason for that is they are absolutely positioning themselves for on-chain payments. And it makes total sense that they would have this partnership with Mastercard. And last but not least, we actually talked about Polygon trails. But remember I was talking about, look at transaction volume. USD number of transactions. Oh, you can't see that. Let me zoom out here. That is huge. Polygon, the biggest one in the millions. Base kind of going down, everything kind of going down or being flat. Polygon absolutely popping off. That is something else. And I think that is it for Polygon. I think the big lesson, the big takeaway here is to have a niche, have a focus. And I think that's true for, it's true on a YouTube channel, right? Like you can't just dive in. You can't just talk about whatever on a YouTube channel, generally speaking. The vast majority of people would not be successful doing that. But you can find a niche and you can specialize on that niche and you can really carve out a spot for yourself. So I think absolute smart on Polygon's part to focus on payments. They followed the data. They saw where their product market fit was and they went for it. I think that's super smart. Let's see. Trinity AQK says, I sold all my ALGO months ago and moved that money into Celestia. I did buy a crap ton more HBAR a couple months ago. Osmar had asked HBAR ALGO if you have 1,000 to drop. HBAR 100%. Thank you, Trinity. Yeah, I would spread it out more. I mean, I don't believe in going all in on anything. Asher Mink says he's seen the most recent data on Algorand transactions. Apple and Xfer type transactions skyrocketed agentic payments. Let's look at that. By the way, Green Blue mentioned the 50 million to 35K. Yeah, I talked about that online. I talked about that in my newsletter today, which if you're not signed up for my newsletter, check out frugalbc.beehive.com. You can sign up for my newsletter. It's absolutely free. And you get posts on Tuesday and Friday, just like the live stream. Let's see. Did I keep that? I thought I kept that. I saw the increase in transactions. Honestly, though, here's the thing. I did the math. It's like 10 TPS average. So like maybe it's a big increase from previous, but it's really not that much. 10 TPS is still nothing. It needs to be way more than that. We had way higher TPS before, so I don't think it's like a record or anything. But I think, yeah, we'll see. I really want to see more data around agentic payments. Like as far as X402, like Algorand wasn't even on that chart. We shared that chart, wasn't even on there. So something important to keep in mind, but all right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope we had a good show. I thought maybe Eleanor would have her show going and we could kind of watch that, but I don't see much. So I guess we will call it a day, but I hope everyone has a good weekend. I just got hit with like a ton of snow and we're supposed to have way more snow coming like Sunday, Monday. So that's going to be fun. But yeah, hey, crypto prices going up. So that's always nice. I wonder if it's continuing. I'm just going to take a quick peek before we close out here, but yeah, about the same. Nothing too exciting. So, but hey, that's good. It's in a good spot, head in the right direction. Hopefully it stays there. Just seem to be on choppy waters these days right now. And anyway, I'm Frugal BC. Remember, you can get this podcast you can get this as a podcast, Frugal BC, in your favorite podcast app, Apple, Spotify, or Overcast, or whatever you use to get your podcast. You can get this in audio and listen on the go, which is a lot of fun. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. You can see all our videos, like I said, Tuesday and Friday, mornings at 10:30. Otherwise, I'm Frugal BC, and I will see